Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Well. I am over the moon about our session today. Our podcast is with Allison Beardsley, founder of Club Pilates, founder of Red Light Method, and honestly, just industry pioneer. We are so excited to talk all things business growth, scaling, franchising, and honestly, just learn a lot about you. Welcome to the podcast, Allison.
Well, thanks for having me, Laura. I just love you and everything that you do. And you're one of my most favorite people. So it's like a slumber party together. We get to hang out. I love it.
I love it. It's perfect. It's always a treat when it's with someone that I genuinely want to hang out with. It's great. Well, thank you for taking time. I know your time is so valuable. And honestly, you are just such an inspiration to so many in the industry and beyond. I mean, when we think of female entrepreneurs, you are one of the people that I just love learning about, learning from. And I'm so excited to dig into your story and your experience today with both companies, actually. Yeah. So let's start out talking a little bit about your background before founding, both companies. You've shared with me a little bit about your parents and kind of where the entrepreneurship bug came from. So yeah, what was your childhood like? How'd you grow up?
Yeah, I'm like a poor hillbilly from Kentucky. So I was raised, I was born in Kentucky in 1980, and my mom was a housekeeper. My dad was a maintenance man, blue collar. There was 4 kids. I mean, I think combined, they made like $30,000 a year. We were just one step above food stamps. I started working when I was young at the age of 13, and I always knew I'm not going to live the way I was brought up. I'm not going to. I just knew it. And so it's been a beautiful catalyst because I feel sometimes kids can be born into wealth and then they lack the drive, or they could be born into poverty or super poor. But I think the cool thing about my experience is that I've been able to transcend, we're not in a caste system like in India where it's you're born into it. I talked to my friends from India and they're like, that's just unheard of. It's happening more now though. I recently spoke to one of my friends from India and she's like, but it's not what you could do here in the United States.
I've started a gratitude journal as one of my practices this year, which I've tried so many times, but I think it's so easy to find that the things that aren't going so well in our country and to be frustrated about them. But there are little things to be grateful for. And the endless opportunity here is one of them.
Yes, I love practicing gratitude and thankfulness too. It's huge every day.
It's one of the little life secrets that once it clicks, it's like, I can get out of anything now. So you and I both, we share this experience. You were an athlete too. Tell us what sports you played. Did that contribute at all to your success and kind of your entrepreneurial drive?
Yes. It's so funny because, Laura and I are both the same height. We're both tall ladies, but I played basketball, and a week before signing a scholarship with Northern Arizona University, I blew out my knee. And so that took away my dreams of the WNBA, but then that led me into Pilates and Club Pilates, which is way more lucrative than being in the WNBA anyways.
Hopefully not long. Hopefully that's changing.
Yes, exactly. But I love sports so much. Laura and I were talking before. I was wide receiver in powder puff because I got some good hands. I can catch balls good. And I loved tennis and basketball. And I was so aggressive. I get into a flow state when I play sports. I lose track of time. So about 8 years ago, I played pickleball. And for a week, for 5 hours a day, I went and played pickleball, and I'd come home red-faced, drenched in sweat, and I lost track of time. I'd get there at 9 and play till 3. And then my knees swelled, and I was like, I just can't. So I harness my love of sports and that competitive nature that I just lose track of time, and I harness that into business.
So I love that. Yeah. It's fun. I love seeing all the stats now of, how female athletes are the leaders of today's companies and politicians. And I think it's really important now that we know that we actually have the data to prove it, that we have this, group of young athletes that now we get to develop. Say, hey, look at where you're going to end up in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, totally. No, it's awesome.
Okay, so the injury kind of propelled you into Pilates. Let's talk about the early days of Club Pilates. Were you teaching, running the studio, doing all of the things like most small business owners do in the early days?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first did Pilates, I was the worst in the class. And I still am. I'm like worst person. If you look at my arabesque, you're like, ooh, what is that? What does she think she's doing? She's a teacher? But yeah, so in the early days, I opened it up 6 months pregnant with my first son. And that was in 07, 08. So it was the late 07. And I was the main teacher, and I was already a successful trainer in San Diego at the sporting club at the time that used to exist. And it was a cool big gym. But this was like in the early days of boutique fitness. I didn't last very long in the studio because we opened in December 2007. And in February, we were out of state when my son was born 6 weeks early. So I was literally in labor calling my clients, I'm in labor. The studio's going to be closed next week. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, and they're like, Allison, you're in labor. I'm like, I'm just going to like let you go show up just because I'm like, I'm going to have this baby in like 12 or 15 hours. I have time to call you. Like, I'm not. And so they all thought I was crazy, but I called every single person while I was in labor and told them I'm out of state. I'm going to probably be trapped for a week in Arizona. But then that was at one point I had a gal who was working and I was just like, Najwa, can you just like take, and she did. She just went in. She was 400 out of her 500 hours, but I just had a baby out of state. And so early, he came almost 2 months early. So she took over. And from there, that kind of helped me to not be too crazy into it all the time. I was able to then trust and rely on others early on. So
what a gift, like blessing in disguise. So many businesses struggle with that, you know, letting go and trusting somebody else to do all of the million things that it takes to run a small business. So
yes, no, and I got thrown to the wolves with that too, because early in 2008, we developed our first 500-hour training program to teach teachers to teach. And so part of their hours is they had to apprentice 60 hours with me. And so my first year of that, I was like, cringe, like making every face. And then I just learned to just let it go. They're doing great. And I'm the most critical one on them. The members don't know. Yeah. So I did learn to let go pretty good. And I'm really good at that now. You got this. Go get it.
Honestly, guys, I look to you whenever I'm like, if there's anybody to emulate when it comes to just finding the right people and trusting them to do their jobs, you are so amazing at that. And I'm sure years of experience added to it. But what did you know with Club Pilates that you had gold? Was there a point where you're like, oh my gosh, we're really onto something. This is going to be huge.
I was like super into like business books at that time, and I still am. But I was always learning about like how to have an abundant mindset and that sort of thing. One of the most powerful things I did with Club Pilates is I took a piece of paper and wrote down why I know Club Pilates is going to become the biggest Pilates company in the world. I flipped it over and wrote why I know it's going to happen. I literally did that and it literally happened. Like, wow. I think our words and our written word is super powerful. I'm really excited about that because Red Light Method's doing so much better than Club Pilates now in such a shorter time. It's going to transform the industry. I already know it. So,
okay. I cannot wait to get there and talk about Red Light Method. But as you were really exploding and kind of getting to the point where you had dozens and dozens of studios, at what point did Exponential start courting you and getting interest from potential buyers or investors?
Yeah, this is so funny because at the time, Exponential Fitness didn't exist. And it all started, it was before. So it was just Anthony who purchased Club Pilates. And it was his first in his portfolio for Expo. But what even propelled that was we're living in San Diego at the time and rocking it. I had this cute little office in Del Mar with ocean views and the breeze. It was awesome. And I got a phone call one day from the founder of LA Fitness. And he said, I want to buy your studios. I remember calling my lawyer/adopted mommy in San Diego. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could sell. And she's like, yeah, Allison, you could sell this and like retire. And I'm like, no way. So that got us going. Because at that point, I was kind of in over my head. I was early 30s. I was young. I had little kids. My husband just got out of the military. And so we talked it through. And so we left San Diego and we moved to Incline Village, Nevada, which a lot of California business owners move to Incline Village because it's the Nevada side of Tahoe and you don't have the state income taxes.
Easy taxes, yeah.
Yeah. So before we were able to allocate 90% of the sale to Nevada, which was awesome, but it was a really smart move fiscally to get out of California before selling the whole franchise system. So that's how it started. And then once we moved to Incline, it was a very fast process. It was about 9 months from meeting Anthony till the merger happening, because usually it takes years for that kind of thing.
Oh, congratulations. Gosh. All right. You're living in Incline Village, like heaven on earth, and you're basically retired. What, pray tell, made you want to start another company?
I don't know. I was crazy. So I had several years. I had about 7 years off, actually. So from 2015 to 2022, I got a couple's master's degrees and I studied under Deepak Chopra. Did like so much stuff. I was going on retreats it was fun. And then we ended up moving to the Ozarks and becoming farmers. And we were farming sheep and chickens and greenhouses, which was interesting. We're back out west now. So that was a fun little feather in the cap that I was a sheep farmer.
You were?
But
yeah.
But yes, I was getting over long COVID in 2021 when someone had mailed me lights to try. And I wrapped my whole body in the lights like an 80-year-old 2 weeks earlier. And then I felt like I was 20 and I lost 11 pounds in that time frame. What? And it was crazy because it gets rid of inflammation in the body. And so after just 2 weeks of it, I got to share this with the world. I have to make this available and affordable and accessible because normally our light treatments we offer, it's a $40,000 light system we use. And normally the treatments are like $200 a pop. So we're now in our bottom tiered markets. Our unlimited's $199 a month where people can come in 30 times a month and get the light treatments. And we've seen crazy stuff with it as far as like macular degeneration healed and people coming off of disability and just stuff that you don't see in normal boutique fitness because we're incorporating the wellness modality. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So tell us how, for those who have not seen Red Light Method yet, this isn't just the red lights. You're actually incorporating fitness as well. So what does that look like? And how does the actual time in the studio look for a consumer?
Yeah. So for a member at Red Light Method, they're in for about an hour. They could be in a little longer or less, depending on which model that Red Light Method's offering. But you start by coming into the studio. You go into a private spa treatment room. You're under a sheet. You undress. You push a call button. And then one of our staff comes in and wraps your whole body with red near infrared lights. And then you listen, noise canceling headphones, a little meditation or relaxing music. It's a 25-minute treatment. And it is FDA cleared class 2 medical device. And so after that, the clinical trials say that you need to go on whole body vibration. So we do 15-minute power plate classes after, and all of our fitness components are digitally taught. So people then move from their treatment room to 15 minutes on the power plate. And then depending on the size of the studio, they either do a 15-minute Pilates reformer session or a 30-minute Pilates reformer session, depending on how many reformers we have. It's super awesome. And the classes are digitally taught. I always tell people it's more on the vanilla side of Pilates. We stay on the back. We're not planking or standing on the reformers for safety, but you can plank and stand on the power plate. So it's about a half-hour minimum of fitness and the 25-minute treatment. And then people can stay longer if their studio does offer the longer classes, because I know people are really loving it. And so many people have actually been like, that's the best reformer class I've ever taken. I've been taking Pilates 20 years. I didn't understand neutral pelvis because we have a tablet over the reformer and we can show the anatomical images. And I'm cueing them through on how to look up, make sure your feet are in equidistance in the center. I'm teaching them what an instructor would look for. So as they're doing it, they're checking their form and alignment, and anatomical image shows them what their imprinted pelvis position should be. So, yeah, so it's been awesome because from the business model, we don't have the staffing woes that come with a normal instructor-led business, which I know is great as a business model Club Pilates is, and it was. That was kind of a pain in the butt as an owner to have to deal with a lot of the instructors. So I'm happy to have an instructorless model.
Right. I mean, that is the number one challenge we hear across the board. Nobody's like, oh, we're drowning in teachers and we have to, that doesn't exist. So, and all the Pilates classes I've taken, the only time I ever have instruction like what you just said isn't when somebody is actually like, hey, look at this and feel this. Because in the big group classes, the teacher's is barely looking at you, honestly. Yeah. They're cueing choreography a lot of the time.
Yes. It's so funny you mentioned that because I've had a lot of people be like, is this classical Pilates? And it's so funny because 20 years ago in the early days of Club Pilates, everyone's like, oh my gosh, what you're doing to the industry. And now Club Pilates is more classical than all the other Pilates modalities. It's actually the most classical, but that's what I love about Pilates is finding that neutral pelvis and decompressing the spine and doing all the internal things you're doing of lengthening and shoulders and all the stuff. And early in the Club Pilates days, that's how we taught as well. We would have everyone put their hands on their pelvis, do neutral. And I think it's changed as it's become 1,200 locations in the United States. So
well, what I love about what you're doing at Red Light Method is it's so accessible to anybody. And that's been one of the biggest challenges for so many studios that, maybe their workout is fantastic. Their programming is beautifully designed, but it's really intimidating, or it's frankly crazy hard. And some people can build up a habit and do that. A lot of people just try, God, I'm never going to be successful at this. But from what you described and what other people have talked about in your testimonials, this is something that people with any level of fitness can walk in the door.
Yes, we take away the intimidation factor, because if you think about it, 80% of our population is categorized as overweight and obese, 80%. And so for them to go in and do all this high intensity stuff, they're spiking cortisol levels, their adrenals, they're causing injuries, and then they're hangry. So they're like, I just like spent so much, I'm going to eat this whole pizza. So you see when people do this high intense stuff, they go and they totally undo all their stuff by overeating because they're starving. I always like to think about 2,000 years ago. What did people do? No one was doing high intensity unless they were running from a cheetah in the jungle. They were doing low intense movement. Yeah, consistently. Exactly. So I'm a huge fan of low intensity for sure.
Yeah, I love that. My husband always jokes. He's like, I would be so freaking fit if I didn't over reward myself after every one.
Yes, I'm starving. I'm gonna pound it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So talk to me about Red Light Method. First of all, how many locations are you? I know you've got a lot of franchisees signed. How many locations are planned to open in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, in the next 12 to 18 months, we should have about 20 open at least. We have currently 58 signed, and we have 3 open. We have about another half dozen in pre-sales. Yeah. And so it's great. We just had a Reno location open 2 weeks ago with 315 members. It's already to 350. Yeah. Fayetteville, Arkansas just opened it. They're at about 230 right now. So the demographics are very different in Reno versus Arkansas. And so we run all the demographic software and we help franchisees with site selection and stuff. But yeah, we definitely do cater to a group of people who have seen just huge transformations, which is so beautiful. It's the people who would never step into Club Pilates or Orange Theory or Pure Barre. They just would never do that. They come to Red Light Method, and it's been beautiful.
The franchise model has proven for you to be something that you can like create a layer of consistency, and you feel that the values steep all the way down to the employee level of the franchisees. Is that something you have to put a lot of intention behind? Is it just manual?
That's really important, because I feel like the culture comes from the top. And I think that's why when I did Club Pilates and Red Light Method, my heart was like, how can I help and serve as many people as possible? It wasn't like, how am I going to make as much money as possible? Because I know that when we help and serve and bless others, it comes back to us. So that's something that I can still see it in Club Pilates today, even though I'm 10 years away from it now. That heart is still there. And I feel like that culture is so important. And it's been just so beautiful because we just attract the most beautiful franchise owners, the most amazing staff. Like Club Pilates was a lot more difficult, but Red Light Method, I think it's because we don't have instructors and we don't need them. We just get the most awesome servant-hearted people who are in there loving on our members, creating awesome community. And it's just been a blessing. Everyone like Eric, our national sales director, who's going to soon be our CEO. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Eric. But he's so great. You know, Eric, he's salt of the earth. I've worked with so many sales guys and they're like used car salesmen, and Eric loves people. What are their needs? Hears them. Our sales process is a therapy session for our prospects, which is probably why we have the 60 to 80% close rate, which is just unheard of in the industry. It's crazy. So
I won a webinar recently, and the number of people after the webinar that were like, that is the best webinar you've ever done. How do we find him? He's so great. So now I've just stopped selling everybody up.
You're like, hey, I know. I'm like, he's going to be ours.
Well, maybe for all of you listening, I'll have to have Eric on the pod. He's honestly one of the coolest things he taught me about sales is that he trains people in improv before they start sales training, or that's part of their sales training. Yes. And he was like, we're dealing with humans and you never know what's going to come at you. And so flexing that muscle of being able to, take any situation and roll with it and mirror what's going on in front of you and find playfulness in it or whatever. It's brilliant. I mean, I've been in sales my whole career in one way or another. I've never heard that before. So it was great. As you think about the future of Red Light Method and growing these franchises, first of all, is this something that you want to do internationally?
Yeah, that's interesting because we went international with Club Pilates really fast. We opened one in Australia at location 15.
Oh,
and what I've learned though is that it's better to get your tentacles in the one country first before you go international, because there's so many laws and so much legality that's so different. And it's interesting because Club Pilates just now is going into Mexico after being in business almost 20 years. Yeah, they're just now. it's so expensive to go into Mexico. Australia was relatively easy. So
interesting. I wonder why. I mean, again, yeah, there are so many laws, and especially dealing with a medical grade product. So there's probably what's going to be covered and what's not. You may get your entire experience covered in some countries because it is medical.
It would be amazing. I know we used to take United Healthcare and they used to cover sessions, but that's all been done away with. But I feel like with the healthcare, so many people use that. The people who depend on healthcare for their health and well-being are not the same people who, like, to be able to spend a couple $100 a month on your healthcare is really a drop in the bucket. Like, we found that even when we took United Healthcare, we'd have 100 people on United Healthcare and like 3 people used it. So
really, when you look at employee wellness programs too, it's kind of similar. Like everybody gets access to it at a lot of companies, but the people who use it are the people who are already healthy and had a gym membership. So it's really how you get those people to invest in themselves, and then they really decide to commit and work on habit building techniques. So when you think about like the things that make franchisees really successful, because obviously you kind of figured that out with Club Pilates and here, what do you look for in franchisees? And specifically, how do you interview them?
I'm checking out that I'm compatible with them and that they're a pleasure to work with because I'm going to be working closely with them. It's so important. We provide so many layers of support. So we need people who are filled with grace and who are patient and aren't on Saturday night calling our director of operations and the whole gamut. The sky is falling because it can wait till Monday. It's not a big deal. So we do discovery days. I'm vetting them just as much as they're vetting me. And mostly it's, do I like this person? And I like most people. So there's only been a couple who I'm like I'm just going to let that one go away. I like most people and I get along well with most people. But yeah, I definitely am making sure, am I compatible with them? Are they going to be compatible in our team? Because one rotten franchisee can spoil the whole bunch. So it's super important that franchise owners kind of guard their flock in a way of franchisees and that you're not bringing in like some toxic, tyrannical person. Yeah.
Right. I've seen that now, having worked with franchises. There are some that just, they feed ugliness across the board. It's important. I know a lot of people listening and a lot of business owners in this industry consider like, okay, what is the right path for growth? We've got 3 studios or, 2 to 5 studios. What's next? Do we seek investment and grow corporately? Do we franchise? What would be your advice to people who are considering the franchise route? Or is there anything that you should absolutely think about before you go down that path?
Yeah. So franchising is expensive. You could do a license or a franchise. So a license would be like CrossFit, but CrossFit has no brand consistency. So some could have pink walls and Pilates and others have black walls and they're schlepping tires around. So there's no brand consistency. There's no experience consistency. Getting a license agreement done is like $500, super cheap to do a license. So that's a cheap way to grow, but you're not going to grow with, you can't have controls. So with Club Pilates, our first location actually was a license. So we licensed it at first. And then I learned, I was like, oh, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's actually a franchise. So we converted, it was Ari and Encinitas was the first one. And so she converted to a franchise, no problem. I think she has 4 or 5 now in North County, coastal San Diego. But yeah, franchising's awesome. You'll have to audit yourself each year. So you pay accountants to audit you, which is expensive and time consuming. And then you have the FDD or the franchise disclosure documents, which is really made to protect franchise owners from corrupt franchisors who are selling snake oil. And so there's a lot of legal hula hoops to jump through, but it's a great investment because what I learned is not everybody is an entrepreneur. I used to think everyone was. I was like Oprah. I was like, you get a franchise. Everyone should be a business owner. But it's a small percentage of people who are actually weed whacking entrepreneurs. Most people want to go do their job and quit and not think about it after they clock out or whatever. And so it's a great way to grow. I really love franchising in that model. I don't like franchise restaurants. I like mom and pop grass to table restaurants with no seed oils or whatever. So I hardly eat out because those are so hard to find. But the boutique fitness world, I think it's a great way to get franchising is a great model because corporate owned stores are going to require a lot more. And if you can't roll your profits into franchising, and that you require investors to have to start it, then you're not a good franchise system, in my opinion, because you should be already cash flowing so much and rocking it that for you to spend $50,000 on a franchise agreement and audit yourself and build a team out, that should happen from profit. So Red Light Method, we're debt free. We grow with our profits. So it's awesome. Our Bentonville location in Arkansas is funding the whole franchise system, which is awesome. So to be able to say, one little Hodunk location in Arkansas, and it's rocking it. It's rocking it. So
yeah. That's interesting. I heard Sadie Lincoln from Bar 3 talking about that was her experience too. She had to grow based on cash flow, and it was the best entrepreneurial, lesson in schooling. So for those of you out there that are concerned about the funding side of it, it may be that you just need to double down on your existing business until it's growing enough to be able to self-fund, right?
Yeah. Because I think that's more organic. Because if you can't grow without having to get infused with private equity, at least in a boutique fitness, I know there's certain fields of business, like your software business, that's way different. I don't even know that. So that's a whole different gamut than a small studio under 2,000 square foot footprint. If you're wanting to sell that business model and you can't, I don't know how you could really sell the business model. And we don't really advertise or anything, just people are finding us organically. And this is how Club Pilates was too. So I don't outsource any of my franchise brokership. I tried a couple ads on a couple things and they were kind of a bust. And so it's just all organic. And so it's been beautiful. We just had North Carolina in on Friday for Discovery Day. I just signed Oklahoma City last week in Tulsa. And it's awesome. It's crazy because it's like I'm used to coming from San Diego and then branching out from the West over. Yeah. And so coming from the center of the country and then going out has been really a unique experience this time too.
It speaks to the product and the model for the business. With boutique fitness, margins are typically pretty small, but without having instructors, that probably puts you in a much better place.
Yeah.
Actually, with instructors. So I hear all the time that the instructors are like the heart of the community at different studios. So how do you build that sense of community and camaraderie and togetherness without having an instructor in the rooms?
It's our staff all have to be a really strong cultural fit. And so we have everything digitally online. So when Cincinnati opens and she hires her GM's going to go through 30 hours of training on our online portal where she watches a video, takes a quiz, and all of our staff go through that. So the big, strong cultural fit. When you come visit us in Northern Nevada and you come and everyone's going to be like, hi, Laura. How are you, Laura? Our culture is so awesome. And that's how the original Club Pilates culture was too. And so I think that just comes again from my heart of helping and serving people, but we're having no problem on the cultural area. And our power plate area is really where the community is because we have a TV screen with split screen, easy option on the left, hard option on the right. And then everyone's on a power plate doing a workout together and they do that for 15 minutes and it's kind of self-paced, but it becomes a free-for-all and everyone becomes friends back there and staff are back there supporting. But thankfully, we just have such loving staff. And that's where our community comes from is everyone feels so loved on. All of our reviews, Bentonville has 412 5-star reviews. It's insane.
That's awesome.
And all of it is like this.
Bentonville,
Arkansas. Exactly. It's like 60,000 people. We have so many 5-star reviews and it's all about the staff and everything. It's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, let's shift to just kind of the wellness industry in general. We're in this amazing time of so much innovation and technology, and we've kind of landed in a place for me personally, of a lot of overwhelm, right? There's so much telling us like, try this supplement or this technology or this, whatever. Is there anything that you lean on for your personal wellness practices? Obviously Red Light Method or, you're probably your own best customer. But anything else that's really been, a staple in your self-care and wellness routine these days?
Yeah. I love the power plate and the red light. I also love hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I have a hyperbaric oxygen actually chamber in my bedroom and I love it because there's an oxygen concentrator and you breathe in 98% pure oxygen as if you're 14 feet under sea level, under pressure, and it pushes that oxygen into your cells. I started doing that a couple years ago because my thyroid had gone hyper for a few weeks. And that was really scary because most people, their thyroid goes hypo. But when it's hyper, your heart's like, it was really scary. And so all I did was a bunch of vitamin IVs and the hyperbaric, and then I practiced more relaxation techniques. And thankfully, my thyroid normalized and quit going hyper because hyper was scary. My resting heart rate was like 130.
What?
I went to the ER. It was really scary. Not sure. They don't know what caused it, but it did normalize. But the hyperbaric is one of my favorite things. I really love cryo too. I hate cold water though. I go to the hot springs here in Northern Nevada. We're the hot spring capital of America. We have hot springs everywhere. So every day for about 2 hours, I go at high noon and get hot springs. So I have this nice golden tan from hot springs, but I love to absorb my vitamin D in nature, and I do acupuncture and all the stuff, but the red light and the hyperbaric are probably my favorite. We tried to add hyperbaric into red light method, but it's illegal in 17 states.
I didn't realize that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's illegal in Arkansas, surprisingly, and California and Nevada. And a lot of places are just doing it. But as a franchisor with a national brand, I'm not going to mess with it. I would be open to adding a cold plunge or cryo in the red light method if a franchise owner wanted to invest in that. But they're pretty costly modalities. And I love the far infrared sauna. I do that a lot as well. And I barefoot hike. I've been barefoot hiking for about 10 or 12 years. So that's we barefoot hike together at Torrey Pines. So
yeah, one of the best. I love that. I say all the time that I live in paradise. San Diego is such a dream. Yes, you're in the cold weather dream spot right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny because when we first moved from San Diego to Northern Nevada, I thought I was in the Great White North. I was like, oh. But now after having lived in Arkansas and experiencing -20, I'm back here and I'm like, it's 60s. It's great. Yeah. And we're just 20 minutes from Tahoe. So we're down the mountain, but it doesn't seem so cold anymore. But coming from San Diego to here, I was like, this is the Arctic. So, but now after coming back now, I'm like, oh, the weather here is perfect. And I'm a easy day drive to San Diego. So, which I love. San Diego is my favorite place, like big city life.
It's such a dream.
It is.
Well, I am so glad we got to connect today. You mentioned, I always end our podcast with kind of a fun question, but you mentioned business books. So I feel like I really want to know this. What book that everyone listening to this should pick up and read as an entrepreneur, a business person, working in a business?
Yeah. My favorite book is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And I literally listened to his book so many times. And then before we had left San Diego, I met him because before we left in San Diego, we were living in Santa Luz and there was a little country club and it was all, and I'm at the country club and there's Harv. Crazy because coming from where we lived before we moved into Santa Luz is we were a stone's throw from a trailer park in the hood in Santee, California. So we went from Santee to Santa Luz, which was pretty funny. And I learned that I'm not a gated community person or a country club person. So, but it was just really funny. I feel like I manifested him. I was like, oh, my favorite author. And because he lives in San Diego too. So
cool. Well, we'll put that in the show notes so everybody can link out to that. But that's awesome.
It's such a good book, though. It worked for me 100%, just applying the principles and doing it. So
that's awesome. Well, I love that you just wrote why I believe this brand is going to be the best and biggest Pilates brand in the world. And it worked.
It worked. Yes. When Club Pilates started, boutique fitness didn't really exist that much. Yeah. It was that precipice of where the big boxes were offering great classes and then it switched to boutique. And so I feel right now we're on the same precipice, but it's going to be, and I feel like Red Light Method's the first mover in this, but it's going to be a combo of wellness and more low intense, gentle fitness. So I think that we're on that same precipice as Club Pilates was in 2007 that we're on right now regarding recessions, because we opened in December 2007 and there was the economic downturn of 2008 and the recession. But by offering things that were affordable and accessible for the people, my people were losing their houses and their cars and their jobs. And they're like, I will not lose my health. And so I feel like we're in the same position now, Red Light Method, because who knows what the future holds economically. And I think it's always smart to be poised to where it's like, if people have to hold back and they can't get their massage anymore, their facial, and they got to get rid of one of their boutique fitness things. I feel like Red Light Method is in this position because the results are like a massage and a facial and a workout for less than a Club Pilates. Our pricing is less than that. So I feel like...
And the Botox, because look at your skin. You look amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I'm 45 and my skin is better now than it was 10 years ago, and I'm all natural. I tried Botox once like 8 years ago, and I was sick for 9 months. So I never, yeah. So I literally just water and a washcloth, a Norwex washcloth. I love it. But
well,
but yeah,
your tips from Allison, guys.
Yeah, red light and water.
Well, that's so good to hear. I think our industry almost has swung, and granted, costs for everything have gone up, so I understand why. But I mean, I literally went to cancel my membership at a studio and just buy a 10-pack because I'm traveling so much. It didn't make sense. I've got 6 months of crazy travel. And the 10-pack was $40 a class. And I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like, this is just insane for me to have at least some sort of commitment to this business. And that is not accessible for most people, right? So I really do think there is a huge part of the population looking for the kind of luxury and connected experience of boutique, but can't necessarily afford a $400 membership. So you're providing an amazing service there.
Yeah, no, I really do. Yeah. Cause I'm really conservative on my numbers and things, and who knows? I mean, it's about every 20 years we have a downturn in the economy. And so 2008 was almost 20 years ago. So it's not if, it's when there is one. But I think that that's something that business owners should always be aware of like, how am I helping and serving people? How am I making this affordable and accessible? And what's going to happen when people have to hold back? I'm a little worried about some of these franchises, the contrast ones where they're doing like the cold plunge and the sauna, because their build out's like 1.5 million and their memberships are like 400 a month. And that's going to be the first thing to go. When people have to hold their money close, they're going to easily be able to be like, okay, I don't need to go in a sauna and a cold plunge and pay $400 a month for that. So, yeah. So good lessons for entrepreneurs. What is going to make you recession proof? Something to always think of.
There you go. Thank you so much for the time today. This has just been such a great conversation. I know everybody listening took something out of it. And if anybody listening happens to be interested in opening a Red Light Method franchise, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah, they can either visit us at redlightmethod.com or email me, Allison, Allison, at redlightmethod.com. So.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys check it out. It's a pretty incredible model. And honestly, just such a pleasure to learn from you. So we'll see you guys all soon. Thank you for joining us on Well.
Yes, thank you for having me, Laura. And thank you for making such an awesome software. We really love Walla. So thank you.
Appreciate the love.